For me, Marvel Comics have been the way to go as far as comic books are concerned for decades now. I know a lot of us have got, the go-to comic books and comic book companies. Some of us are fans of Archie's and some Frew. I must admit myself, I am a huge fan of the Phantom.
Watch him, Devil. He moves. Eat him.
But as far as, the wide integrated universe stuff is concerned, I've always looked to Marvel and have done for a long time. I think probably it started when I was a kid, and I looked around what my friends were reading and what my uncles had, and I kept coming across the same handful of characters, Storm, Captain America, Wolverine, Spider-Man, and kept asking, who are these colourful characters? I didn't have names for them, just pictures, and they seemed to pop up a lot. They seemed to be really exciting in their appearance. Often some of the posters on walls I saw showed people out of space, people with dinosaurs, people performing magic and stuff involving Atlantis and all sorts of magical, outrageous and funny stuff. And I was just like, yeah, this is the stuff I want to read. So I did some digging, as much as you can as a kid. And one day when we were in Sydney on a holiday, I went into a comic book shop and started going through the racks and found a Fantastic Four comic. And I can clearly remember seeing those images of the Human Torch, the Thing, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, and Doctor Doom, and just being entranced by what I was looking at, because up until then I'd been aware of Batman, Superman, the Flash, Green Lantern, and those were exciting, but there was just something about what I was looking at that was something completely different and new. And when I discovered that this particular issue of the comic, thanks to the man at the shop, tied in with something called Howard the Duck, which just sounded absurd, and then I read that, and it was like superhero Daffy Duck, I was just like, what on earth have I found here? And so the die was cast at that point, and to then discover the Incredible Hulk live-action TV show, which was just an absolute masterpiece as far as television was concerned. If you've not checked it out, it stars Bill Bixby.
Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Lou Ferrigno. It's essentially what happens if you take the story of the Incredible Hulk and turn it into sort of a tragic version of the superhero we know, mixed with the fugitive. I don't know, something about that spoke to me as a young man. And then obviously when they struck gold with X-Men the Animated Series, and Spider-Man the Animated Series, and later the 1, 2, 3 knockout blows at the big screen with Blade, Spider-Man and X-Men. If I hadn't already been on board, with all of the comic books, which I was by then getting on a monthly basis, things like Doctor Strange, who is for me the ultimate Marvel hero, but also Ghost Rider, Deadpool, X-Force, X-Men, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Spider-Woman, She-Hulk, Incredible Hulk. There's just so many that I was getting on a monthly basis. Captain Marvel. These characters were an escape, I'm not going to argue, and they were just wonderful. Like, you could relate to so many of them on so many levels, and yet you fully were able to acknowledge that they had nothing in common with you, and there was nothing wrong with saying, yeah, this is not the life I'm living. But also, I didn't want to live the life of Frank Castle, the Punisher, or Johnny Blaze, the Ghost Rider. because they also had miserable lives whilst out there, you know, saving us all. And that was, I think, the other great thing about Marvel. It still is, that these are characters that are epic and tragic and romantic and action-packed and just so intricate and interwoven, and you can just get them on a number of levels, and it doesn't matter who you are in life, there's a character out there that speaks to you. And I think that's something that the recently departed Stan Lee got. These characters have to hit you straight away, have to connect with you automatically, you know, and it doesn't matter what gets you, whether it's Silver Surfer or Submariner or Rogue or, you know, Madam Web. Just, there has to be a character in that issue that you're reading, because you may not have much money or many opportunities to go get a comic book. So, you know, he knew that there had to be characters in each issue that would speak to the reader, no matter how young or old. And a lot of other great writers at Marvel, like Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, definitely got this as well. And so here we are with this vast Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that spans, you know, big and small screen, and all the X-Men franchise and everything else. And it's just, you know, pardoning the pun, it's a juggernaut that doesn't look like it's ever going to stop. And I think it's for the good, because it means other generations are going to have this in times of trouble, or just, you know, because it's fun to read these comics and to watch the TV shows and the movies. And, you know, there's also, you know, a whole range of Marvel audiobooks out there now as well. So I think it's amazing what's been created. I think it's a wonderful legacy being left behind by Stan Lee and others. And if you haven't actually got into any of these things yet, then I do encourage you, if you get a chance, go out to a comic book store, go online, look up some stuff and see what you find, because it's definitely worth exploring.